We running?
Yep.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the May 2nd ZBA meeting in Saugerties. I'm Patty Kelly, the chair, and the first thing I'm going to do is do the roll call and establish a quorum. Henry Rua, vice chair, are you here?
Yes.
Joe Mayone.
Yes.
Tim Scott. Randy?
Here.
Randy Ricks. Is Bill Shermer our alternate here?
Yes. Present.
And I am here. So we do have a quorum.
Oh, Tim just showed up.
And Tim, we're doing roll call. Would you let us know that you're here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so we have a quorum.
There we go.
And the first item on the agenda is the public hearing on the Red Onion Woodstock Properties CATS project. And that's at 1654 Route 212 in Saugerties. And they are requesting now a 25-foot variance. 25-foot variance from the required 50-foot rear yard setback. So that's a reduction. And we see that you've done your due diligence and gone through all of your plans. Kevin, did we get any comments from the public via mail or email this week?
No, neither.
Okay, and we'll soon find out in a moment whether or not there are any members of the public here. First thing I want to do, though, is ask if any member of the board would like to make a motion on the SECRA this. Hearing none, I will make a motion to declare SECRA for this project to be type 2 617-617.5 parentheses C parentheses 17. That's the SECRA designation. Can I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, and we'll just do a roll call vote quickly. Henry?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
I vote yes. And now can I please have a motion to open the public hearing on this application? Anybody?
Oh, I'll
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, Henry made the motion. Anybody second?
Joe.
Joe seconds. Okay. Let's just do a voice vote then. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Now, are there any members of the public here? Do you see any on your phone thing, Kevin?
No, I don't. Nope.
I didn't expect that there would be a whole lot of people wanting to come out and speak against this. Hearing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's do excuse me, a voice vote, please. All say aye.
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 Okay. And is it the pleasure of the board to take a vote on this application at this time, or do you want to wait? Anybody? Do you feel prepared to take a vote on this application tonight? Yes?
Why don't we have the discussion on it later on, Patty? And
Okay, later on, we'll do it after we finish
Yeah.
the two applications. Okay,
yes.
that's good enough. So Michael, we may vote on this tonight rather than putting it off to the next meeting. And if we do, Kevin will send you the resolution so that you have that, and then you can proceed and do your business with the planning board if the vote goes. Okay.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Okay. I'm
Oh,
sorry the
muted.
public didn't show up. I gather there wasn't a lot of opposition to this project.
Same.
So just get your kitchen done and get it opened up, and we'll all be there.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Okay. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay. The second thing on the agenda tonight is the Tarpon Towers continued public hearing. Kim, can I ask a question? Since we never close it, I should do a motion to open the continued public hearing. Is that correct? I want to do it legal.
You can have a motion to continue the public hearing.
To open it. Okay. I'll make a motion to open the continued public hearing. Can I have a second?
I'll
Yes,
second
Joe.
Patty.
All right, Henry seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so, are there any members of the public here who would like to speak to the application currently before the board for the Mount Marion Firehouse? And I'm asking that you please limit your discussion to the Mount Marion Firehouse. Any members of the public? Andy, you're here. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I'm just listening, but thank you for
Okay.
asking, Patty.
Okay, Delville, Mr. Biagio, you're here. Did you have anything you would like to say?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Olson, did you have anything you would like to say?
Yes, if you don't mind. I'll be brief, but we submitted some additional information in response to some comments. And specifically, we included 3 different documents. One was the board requested that you wanted to see a structural engineer's letter, similar to what we did for the 17 Industrial Road Drive property. And in terms of talking about the design and the fact that the tower will be designed to include a hinge point or a break point. And that will essentially limit the fall down radius to 80 feet. And when I say fall down, please understand though, the engineer's letter said very clearly when these are properly designed, built and maintained, they don't fall. In fact, he said they never fall under those circumstances. We fully intend to properly design, properly maintain, and properly install. These are safe facilities according to our structural engineer. We provided an updated supplemental or updated site selection analysis that, again, just updated it in terms of all of the properties that are located in the search area. And the conclusion is, I think the ZBA mentioned a property that was up in the northwestern part of the search area, one of the 2 last meetings, and we were talking with the owner about possibly leasing some space there. It's honestly not too far as the crow flies from 17 Industrial Drive. But
Is that the Glasgow Turnpike property?
I will tell you.
That would be the Central Hudson property, right?
No, I think it was he didn't talk about Central Hudson in that additional thing.
This one is it's a larger property. It's just east of the thruway.
That's the one that's on Glasgow Turnpike.
It is. I'm sorry. That has frontage on Glasgow Turnpike. I'm just turning to the.
And it comes very close to touching the Industrial Drive properties.
It does. It's part of the analysis. Well, first of all, the woman that owns the property, at first she expressed a possible interest, but then she ultimately, as the information we provided shows, she declined to enter into an agreement. But it is pretty close to 17 Industrial Drive. I think we put that in the analysis. So we just wanted to give you that updated site selection analysis. And maybe, well, as importantly, Mike Crosby submitted supplemental radio frequency analysis in which he memorializes what he said in the past about a larger search area. And Mike is here. I know that I can certainly let him talk. He's got the knowledge on it, but essentially.
Is that the one you just sent this afternoon? Late this afternoon?
Well, no, it was really, no, this was the April 21st letter that I sent.
Okay.
The letter that I sent this afternoon was just talking about how, there is some obvious controversy about this 2-mile search radius area. And when you look at the zoning law, it's only required for a special use permit application. And I think that's been something that may have been overlooked. And I wanted just to clarify it in the record. It's very clear. There's a list of items that have to be submitted as part of a special use permit application. That search radius is one of them. As you know, this project at the Mount Marion Fire Department does not require a special use permit. So,
well, that's because it's not allowed in that district. That's why it doesn't.
Right, so we're seeking a use variance, which
It's
has
not
a
an
different,
allowable use.
but that's why we're seeking a use variance, which has a specific standard that the board is well aware of. And so that just wanted to clarify that. But if, I think, Mike, you're here, would you like to just?
I have a couple of questions to ask you.
Sure.
On the the Glasgow Turnpike, I read that portion of your submission, and I read the owner's notes that she sent. I don't know if any of the other board members had a chance to read it, but she mentioned that when she had her attorney look at it, she was very concerned and decided not to do it because of the restrictions that the lease put on her property. What is she talking about?
Sarah probably better to answer that, but I just think she didn't want to. So a lease is a legal encumbrance. Basically, we have rights. If we were to lease her property, we have rights of access 24/7 to make sure that if we have to go onto the property to fix something, we have the right to do that. So I think that was the general tenor, that she just didn't want to have, I think in her word, it would be a burden, but it's just a typical lease, that we have a right to use her personal property. So Sarah, if I'm, speaking out of line, just please let me know.
Nope, that's correct. I think she also had futuristic plans that this might hinder as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to just ask you, we're talking about the tower with the break zone, and that of course it's going to be well maintained. We talked about maintenance earlier on in one of these applications over a year, maybe 2 years ago, I don't remember. I asked what the maintenance schedule was for these towers. And I think, is Brett on tonight? Not yet. Brett, maybe you can answer this question. When we had talked about it, you said most these towers don't really need a lot of maintenance, but you do check them out once or twice a year. Is that pretty much the same now? Because I don't know what this gentleman says in that letter when he says it requires maintenance, if it means more maintenance than is normal. Perhaps you can help us understand that a little bit better.
Yeah, Madam Chair, there are regulations or at least recommendations for how often towers should be reviewed for rust and the like. The most frequent interval is for guide towers that are held up via wires and anchors in the ground. Those are supposed to be inspected every 3 years, and that's a comprehensive inspection. The next is the self-support towers, which are, I think everyone's familiar with, the high tension tower lines that have the.
But in terms of the pole, the tower we're talking about, which is a monopole.
A monopole is inspected every 5 to 7 years, and that's inspected by a climbing engineer who would then review the tower for rust, for any other deficiencies, but rarely with the galvanized finish and the like, there really isn't. We have not had any instances where there are monopole towers that have failed an inspection.
Well, I wasn't asking about the inspection. I was asking about the maintenance. Do you recall you and I having a conversation at one of these meetings a long time ago about what's the maintenance schedule for these towers and who does the maintenance? Do you recall that conversation? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you said once or twice a year you do just kind of general maintenance just to check up on it. Is that still the case now? And who does the maintenance?
Yes, that's the case. And we have a third party company that climbs towers and has engineers who do that inspection.
Is that what this engineer who designs this tower is talking about when he says with proper maintenance? Is he talking 1 or 2 times a year?
Yes, correct.
He is saying that? That's what he means?
If you want me to have him clarify the letter, I can, but I was going to say before.
He made a very specific comment in that letter that we got originally, that if it's built to his specs and with proper maintenance, the tower should be great. But he specifically put in those 2 items, and that's why I'm just asking what is considered proper maintenance from his point of view, as opposed to once or twice a year. If you could have him clarify that, that would be great, just so that we're not making assumptions. I don't think any of us should make assumptions about anything. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, That's it. That was my only two questions. Anybody from the board have any questions? No? Okay. So then we will get on to the next thing, which is, let me just pull this out here. Okay, I would like to, I'd like to make a motion to keep this continued public hearing open, that we're not going to close it. So that's my motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second that, Penny.
Okay, can we have a voice vote, please? Everybody say aye.
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 Okay. Now, next, I want to read a resolution. If you remember correctly, everybody, at the last meeting, there was a discussion that Kim and Mr. Olson had. And Kim said she was going to send him a letter and that he would respond about the neg deck and how we resolve that issue. So
Can we discuss that letter before, perhaps? 'Cause I think that's a pretty big deal.
she said she was sending you a letter
She did.
and you sent her a letter back.
I did, and I in my letter back, I was very concerned because I thought that Grant and Lyons took extreme liberties with the facts and the record. I honestly think that they distorted them, and I think that really needs to be discussed.
Well, I don't think that personally, I don't think they just have distorted it. Nobody from the board has indicated that Kim distorted it when she spoke about it last time. You're talking about how the neg deck came to be voted on?
No, I'm talking about the fact that the video that I reviewed of October 5th of 2020, as well as the meeting minutes, listen, the board voted to rescind the neg deck. The only reason that was given was there was some new information. No one identified the new information. My problem with the Grant and Lyons letter is that now they say it wasn't new information, it was a change in circumstances, which is not in the record. More importantly, the change in circumstances was a decision to not grant governmental immunity. That decision didn't exist on October 5 of 2020. It came 2 or 3 months later.
Well, it would have come the next
Patty,
month.
Patty,
Yeah,
can I address it?
yes, certainly.
So at the October meeting, it was also stated that the neg deck from June 2020 was issued prematurely. And the premature issue was that the negative declaration from June had the presumption that the application was going to be immune from zoning. But that was before the board had made its determination and considered the 9 factors from the Monroe. So it was that issue that it was premature to say that it was immune from it because the board had not concluded its decision on Monroe. So that's why it was rescinded, and that's what that statement saying that it was premature indicated in October. And then in January, when the board had concluded its decision in Monroe, it was determined that after the balancing of the factors, the application was not immune from zoning law, and that did change the circumstance of the negative declaration because there was a part in the community character that stated that because it was immune, it was not a significant impact to community character. Following the zoning law, it's in the RH zoning district, which does not permit these types of facilities, and that is a significant potential impact that the board had not previously considered in June.
Oh, and unfortunately, your letter doesn't say that, and you come out and give a new reason, a change in circumstance.
I just explained the change in circumstance, immunity
Actually,
versus not immune.
Actually, you didn't explain it because you went back and now we're going back to a premature rationale. That's my problem, is that letter is very deceiving, and I think it should be expunged from the record. I really do. I think it was a very deceptive letter, and I think it can be interpreted as you trying to manipulate the record.
It was not manipulating the record. It's the October said it was premature, and I'm explaining that the change in circumstances was that it was presumed to be immune, and now it's not immune. That's
What?
a change in circumstance. That's our view, that's our opinion of it, and that's what we've provided the boards to consider.
I don't think there was a presumption of any governmental immunity. I think a statement was submitted. I think we were going through the process. Perhaps when certain individuals got involved to oppose the project, that's when the presumption was lost, if there was one.
Mr. Olson, I don't like that kind of innuendo when you say certain people got involved. I don't know what you're talking about. If you have something to say it, but don't.
I've had local elected officials voluntarily come to me and say that what was done for 17 Industrial Drive was a little on the political side. And I'm just repeating what I was told.
You're saying elected officials said that to you?
I'm saying that.
Okay.
Were they?
What are you saying, Scott?
Well, all I'm saying is that Scott, if you do read the June negative declaration, I don't know if you've read it recently, but there are statements in there that says that it's immune from zoning, and that was a presumption that it wasn't decided at that point.
I don't think the presumption was there, but
it is. I understand what you're saying, Scott, in that that's your opinion of it. But if you read it, there are several times when it says that it is immune from zoning, and that's not the current situation.
All right. And we're going to do it again anyway. So let me do the resolution. The resolution is kind of lengthy, so just sit back, everybody. And I will.
And Patty, if I can just say that we have explained in the Grant and Lyons letter and also at the April meeting, the ZBA's position.
Yes.
And we, the applicant has stated that they do not feel it was properly rescinded. They do not think they were informed beforehand and that they did not have a reasonable opportunity. The ZBA does not share that opinion, but I think that the board should offer the opportunity for the applicant to comment. And so this is what that resolution is supposed to accomplish.
Okay. So I'm going to read this resolution. When I'm finished, I'll ask for a second from the board because I'm going to make this motion and then we'll discuss it. So the resolution is an intent to provide notice to rescind the negative declaration issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the application of Tarpon Towers 2 LLC and Selco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless. Whereas 1, Tarpon Towers LLC, Tarpon Towers 2 LLC and Selco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless proposed to install and operate a new commercial telecommunications facility. This facility is proposed to be constructed on lands owned by the Mount Marion Fire Department, Inc., the MMFD, and located at 766 Kings Highway in the town of Saugerties. For convenience, Tarpon and Verizon Wireless shall be referred to in this resolution collectively as the applicant. The proposed facility includes the installation of a new 120-foot monopole tower structure and related antenna and equipment necessary to close existing gaps in service in the local area and to relieve substantial capacity issues related to the increased demand and use of Verizon Wireless's network in the town. The MMFD property is located in the town's residential hamlet zoning district. A telecommunications facility is not permitted use in the zoning district. Consequently, the applicant has applied to the board for a use variance and an area variance. No decisions have yet been rendered on those variance applications. On June 1st, 2020, the ZBA issued a negative declaration as its determination of significance pursuant to its review under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA. At that time, the negative declaration was based on the premature assumption that the application was immune from the town of Saugerties zoning law pursuant to the balancing of interest test established in the matter of Monroe versus City of Rochester, herein simply referred to as Monroe. Part 3 of the Environmental Assessment Form EAF, which sets forth the board's negative declaration, assumed that the current application would be immune from the town of Saugerties zoning law based on the balancing of interest test established by Monroe. As it's stated in Part 3, the ZBA has further determined that the proposed action is immune from the provisions of the town of Saugerties zoning law based on its evaluation of the balancing of interest test established in the New York State Court of Appeals matter of Monroe versus the City of Rochester. The negative declaration erroneously stated that immunity from the zoning law under Monroe has already been determined, when in fact that determination had not been formally made as of June 1st, 2020, when the negative declaration was issued. The assumption that the application was immune from the town of Saugerties zoning law impacted the ZBA's initial rationale regarding potential impacts to the community's current plans or goals. Question 17 on the EAF Part 2, entitled Consistency with Community Plans, asks the lead agency to determine whether the proposed action is inconsistent with adopted land use plans. As noted above, the proposed action was not permitted in the zoning district in which it was proposed to be located, making it inconsistent with the community land use plan as expressed through the zoning law. But the ZBA's assumption that the proposed action would be immune from the zoning law led the ZBA to conclude in the negative declaration EAF Part 3 that the proposed action was not inconsistent due to its immunity. As of June 1st, 2020, when the negative declaration was issued, the ZBA had not yet made its determination on the balancing of interest test established in Monroe. Thus, the presumption of immunity from zoning, upon which the negative declaration was partially based, was premature and was issued in error. Realizing the error, the ZBA took steps to correct the error. At its October 5th, 2020 meeting, a motion was made to rescind the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration. The motion was seconded, discussed, and adopted. The ZBA adopted its resolution rescinding the negative declaration at an open, regular meeting held on October 5th, 2020. The applicant and its representatives were present at the time. No objection or question was raised during this meeting. On January 7th, 2021, the ZBA concluded its review of the balancing of interest test established in Monroe. The ZBA applied the balancing from the Monroe case and found that the majority of the Monroe test factors compelled the determination that the proposed action was not immune from the Saugerties zoning law. This decision meant that the proposed action, which proposed a use not allowed in the zoning district where the project is located, was inconsistent with the zoning law and therefore inconsistent with the community plan. In reaction to the ZBA's Monroe decision, the applicant asked the ZBA to take the MMFD application and place it on hold. The applicant stated that it wished to review potential alternative sites in the nearby OLI zoning district. Tabling of the application told the running of the Federal Communications Commission shot clock. On February 16th, 2021, the applicant submitted a new application for a proposed wireless communication facility located at 17 Industrial Drive, located within the OLI zoning district. On January 6, 2022, the ZBA concluded its review of the 17 Industrial Drive application and issued its decision denying area variances requested by the applicant for that site. By letter dated November 22nd, 2021, the applicant asked to reactivate the MMFD site application. Hence, the ZBA reopened its review upon its completion of the 17 Industrial Drive application. In continuing the review of the reactivated MMFD application, the ZBA returned to its secret review and proceeded to complete the full EAF Part 2 as part of the process of making a determination of significance for the proposed action. In completing question 17 of the full EAF Part 2, the ZBA determined that the proposed action was inconsistent with the community plan, specifically the zoning law, because the proposed action was not allowed in the residential hamlet zoning district where the project was located. The ZBA identified this as a moderate to large potential adverse environmental impact. This answer to question 17 represented a significant change from the rescinded June 1st, 2020 negative declaration, which had not found any inconsistency with community plans due to the erroneous presumption that the project was immune from compliance with the zoning law under Monroe. On March 7th, 2022, the ZBA issued a positive declaration as its secret determination of significance. The ZBA cited inconsistency with the community plans as one of the moderate to large potential adverse environmental impacts, which supported the issuance of a positive declaration. More than a year elapsed between the rescission of the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration and the issuance of the positive declaration on March 7, 2022. During that time, the applicant offered no objections or comments to the ZBA on his decision to rescind the negative declaration. However, subsequent to the issuance of the positive declaration, the applicant suddenly became very interested in the rescission of the negative declaration. By letters dated March 7, 2022, March 15, 2022, and April 4th, 2022, the applicant has objected to the issuance of a positive declaration, and in doing so, alleged that the negative declaration was improperly rescinded by the ZBA because it failed to provide the applicant with advance notice of ZBA intention to rescind the negative declaration. Although the ZBA believes that the applicant was informed of the rescission of the negative declaration and was provided reasonable opportunity to respond, the ZBA wants to assure that the applicant is heard and that it feels that it has been provided the opportunity to respond. Consequently, it is the intention of the ZBA to undo the previous actions it has taken heretofore regarding the secret determination of significance. Hence, it will rescind its October 5th, 2020 rescission of the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration, and it will also rescind its positive declaration issued on March 7, 2022. This resolution will accomplish that and procedurally bring the secret review back to its beginning. Although the ZBA denies the applicant's allegation that the October 5th, 2020 rescission of the June 2020 negative declaration was improper, the ZBA will take a conservative course and provide the applicant of notice of the ZBA's intention to rescind the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration and provide the applicant with an opportunity to comment in advance of once again taking up a motion to rescind the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration. Now, therefore, be it resolved, based on all of the findings of facts and conclusions of law described above, and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1. The ZBA rescinds the positive declaration issued on March 7th, 2022 as its determination of significance for the MFFD application. Section 2. The ZBA rescinds the resolution adopted at its October 5th, 2020 meeting to rescind the secret designation of negative declaration for this project. Section 3. The negative declaration issued June 1st, 2020 is now reinstated as the determination of significance for this project. And Section 4, the ZBA directs its attorneys, Grant & Lyons LLP, to inform the applicant, the Town of Saugerties Planning Board, and the Ulster County Planning Board of its intention to take action at its meeting scheduled for June 6, 2022, to rescind the June 1st, 2020 negative declaration. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Patty.
Henry seconds. Okay, is there any discussion on behalf of the board? Is there anything in here that you do not understand, or is it clear?
Loud and clear, Patty.
Okay. Then I'll do a roll call vote. Henry?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay.
So Grant and Lyons will work on that notice, and we will provide it as instructed, and we will provide a copy to the board as well.
And we'll also, Mr. Olson, I'll provide you with a copy of the resolution tomorrow. As I was reading it, I may have read it wrong, but I think one of the dates was wrong, and I just want to make sure that it's corrected before I send it off to you. And Kevin, the same thing for you. I just want to look it over and make sure I didn't make a mistake that and tripped over one of the date numbers. Just make sure it's all right. Okay. Is there any other comments from the board before we move to go do other business? And
Yes, I have a comment.
Sure.
Mr. Olson, I take exception to what you stated regarding from political overviews or political answers that you received saying that our decision was political. Let me just state one thing. I've been on the board probably 25 years. I've never, the only reason I'm on the board 25 years is because never have we spoke, or anyone on the board, and I went through a bunch of boards, had anything politically motivated at our meetings. So unless you come forward and tell us, the board, where you're getting this from, you're just blowing smoke, and I don't appreciate it. I don't use those tactics, and I don't expect it coming from you as an attorney.
Will we be provided with documentation to explain why the ZBA intends to rescind the neg declaration? I mean, to have a meaningful opportunity to comment, could we
It will be
get?
provided in your notice. Yes.
Okay.
What does that have to do regarding what my statement was?
Oh, I'm sorry, nothing. You made a statement. I didn't think there was a question to me.
Oh, there was
I
a
think
question
it's
to
just,
you.
well, Henry, you can just say it for the record.
Well, it's definitely for the record.
Okay. And I'm just saying, I was just a messenger. That's all.
I'm not a messenger. You're hearing from my mouth to your ears. So just understand where I'm coming from.
I know where you're coming from.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have to do another motion because we already voted to continue the public hearing to next month. And so the only other business that the board has is to do the minutes and to discuss the Red Onion application. So Mr. Olson and Mr. Boglin and Sarah and Kathy's still on there. I wish you all a good evening, unless any of you have anything to say before you leave. We don't want to stifle you.
No, you too.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you next month.
Okay.
Kim, thank you as always.
Sure. Would you like me to stay on, or are we all set?
We're almost finished. We're just going to do a motion and perhaps a vote on the Red Onion, but
Yeah, I'd like to have just discussion on it. Kim, if you would stay on with us, please.
Sure.
a discussion of,
What the Red Onion, isn't that what we're
oh,
referring to?
yeah, we're not closing the meeting yet. Okay, so let's open discussion about the Red Onion and whether or not people feel they are prepared to vote.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have an issue with it, except for the fact with if you go through the basics as to, was it self-inflicted, is it needed, we could answer yes to a couple of those. There isn't any opposition from the neighbors. I mean,
when you say what you're talking about was the alleged difficulty self-created,
I can't. I'm losing you, Patrick. Get a little closer.
The 5 questions that we have to answer is, can the benefit be achieved by any other reasonable means? I personally don't see that there's any other reasonable means.
I don't think that's an issue.
Okay. Does this introduce an undesirable change in the neighborhood character or a detriment to nearby properties? Obviously not, since nobody had a problem with it.
No.
Randy, did you do the site visit, by the way? I can't hear you. You're muted.
You're muted, Randy.
Yes, I did. I sent you a picture. Did you get him, Patty?
No, I didn't.
No?
Okay, but you did it. So
yeah, I did, and there's plenty of room at the 25 feet, and it'll still be a driveway. You can get around the back if there's ever a fire.
And the house is not real close to the fence, the house behind there?
No, it's not any further than the new addition is going to be. No, it's probably 40 feet from the fence.
Okay. The other thing that we have to determine is the request substantial? Now, originally the 34 feet was a substantial amount, and but they went back and they did their designs. They hadn't finished their designs, and they found that they don't need the full 34. They were just kind of covering themselves. So 25 feet is what they asked for the new and updated kitchen. And
I think I was talking to the owner that they haven't actually been there for a long time since my daughter worked there, but they didn't know actually how how it worked. They thought that we told them how much they could get. They didn't know that they had to come to us, so.
Right,
They were looking for us to tell them how much of a variance they could have, so.
yeah, we got that feeling, but they finally did their plans.
That's correct.
And they figured out what they needed, and what they needed was 25 feet, and they submitted the paperwork to the ZBA for that. So for a new kitchen and an updated kitchen, I think that that's not a particularly outrageous request.
No,
Personally.
it's not.
Okay. Then the other two questions were, will the request have an adverse physical or environmental effect?
No.
No.
And
No.
the last one that I think you were talking about, Henry, is the difficulty self-created? Well,
That's the only hang up.
you know, they bought it, they bought an old house. The original owners bought an old house with a small kitchen.
Oh, sure.
And you know, they had to update it, and the only thing they could really do was go back further. So
Well, it's
it
been
may
there.
have been
It's
self-created.
been there a
but it
number
was
of years.
necessary. It was self-created, but it was necessary. They needed to have an updated kitchen.
So as the board may know, you know, when you go through those factor tests, it's ultimately a balancing test. So it is possible that you can have a yes answer to some of it, but the overall balancing test is if there's any detriment to the neighborhood by the granting of to the applicant. And honestly speaking, just about, I'd say 95% of all area variances will be self-created in the sense that most of the time when someone buys a property, they're expected to know what the zoning laws are or what the setbacks are. So if you're going to be building into a setback, having purchased the property, it is most likely a self-created hardship. But again, and the courts have also said that a self-created hardship in and of itself is not really enough to have that detriment to the community.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. And that was my point. I just wanted to go through all of them.
Yeah.
So this way here it would be on the record that we went through them and it got clarified. Like I said in the beginning, I have no problem. I know the area. I've been up there a number of
Kevin, we
times.
got all the things back? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Kevin, we got all the, I thought you were done. I was gonna ask Kevin if we got all the sheets back from all the neighbors saying that they got their letters.
Yeah, we got all the green cards. Yep.
Okay, so having gone through those balancing tests, which we have to do, and Kevin, you'll include those in this. Does anybody want to make a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion that we grant it.
Is that Randy?
Second. Yes.
Okay, so Randy, could you just be a little bit more specific what it is you're granting? You're granting an area variance of 25 feet.
I'll make a motion that we grant the Red Onion area variance of 25 feet for the new kitchen.
Right, for the backyard variance. Okay, is there a second?
Joe second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Is there any discussion, any further discussion?
No.
Henry, would you be comfortable if we said the alleged difficulty was self-created, but then we add, but it's also necessary? That it's
Sure. Patty, my whole point.
I want to make sure we're incorporating everybody's views in this. Absolutely.
Right. My whole point was so that we covered all the bases and no one can come and throw rocks at us for something else.
So let's do a roll call vote. Henry.
Yes.
Joe. Yes. Tim.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. And the motion passes. And Kevin, you'll write this up, or do you need me to send you a written resolution that includes everything, and you could put it on letterhead and send it off to everybody that needs to get it, Lisa Stanley and all the applicants and everybody? That's
Sure,
the way
that'd
you
be
would do
great.
it?
Yep,
Okay, we'll do
that
that.
this week.
Okay. Then the last thing we have to do is to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was the April meeting. Anybody make a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is that Tim?
Yes.
Any second?
Second, Patty.
Henry seconds. Okay. Let's just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And we'll get the second T in Tim's name.
Yes, and Kevin, I got a T in Tim's name, so I'll send you that corrected minutes as well, okay? And then you'll make sure that the draft thing goes off of it before you send it out to everybody?
Yep.
Kevin?
Kim,
Yes,
thank,
yes.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, Kimberly.
Oh, you're very
Great,
welcome.
great,
Kim?
great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really, good job. Thank you very much. We're lucky. And give John my best, our best as well. Okay, so hearing no other comments or business to discuss, I'll take a motion. I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting, to adjourn. Who wants to
To
do it?
adjourn.
Who? Joe?
Joe.
Okay, Joe makes the motion. Who seconds?
I'll second it.
Henry seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. The meeting went well. Got through it.